while. This is so weird to me because it feels like it's been weeks. It's only been 1 week, but it just feels like an eternity to like start filming again. Last week was super cool. If you guys didn't see the posts or anything, don't follow me on socials, which by the way you should. I was having a commercial shoot with a big brand in like the sewing world. It's a German brand, very old brand, so I don't know if I can say the name already. I have on Insta, but whatever. Let's just keep it like this for now, and once I can say more about it, I will also name the brand, of course, because I'm super excited to be part of their commercial and their story and so on. And that was last week. I filmed that. I didn't have time to film anything for YouTube, so that's why I, you know, had a break. But I'm back and this week we're gonna do something really cool. A lot of people always ask me about these specific pants right here, which I have not made myself. They're bought. You just want me to make pants like that. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna make very elegant, long, wide-legged pants, and they're gonna have a fold up here, and then they're just gonna look really nice. So let's get started. Also, by the way, if my words sound kind of slurred.
Slurred? Is that the word?
If I can't pronounce stuff correctly, it's because it's early in the morning on a Monday.
Okay.
Very sorry about that. And since you guys liked my pattern making in the beginning of my last video so much, that's what we're gonna do today as well. So let's start with pattern making. And I'm actually gonna grab my pants that I will be modeling this after, just to get an idea on how to, you know, what the sizes are and stuff. I'm gonna make the pattern myself, but I would like to have like a model next to me so that I have less, you know, changes to make in the end. I won't take the pattern from these pants just because they're leather, and my tool for taking patterns, like my tracing wheel, this thing right here, it would just poke the leather and then you can just toss the pants away basically, because there will be holes forever. Not worth it, of course, so I'm just gonna grab my pants and then we're gonna do like measuring and stuff, so let's do that. So here they are. So basically these pants are constructed like male suit pants. And that's just some patterning stuff, like it doesn't really matter, it doesn't do anything to the fit or anything like that. It's just a very specific way of doing the waistband, the fly piece and stuff like that. So not really that important, but what's very important is to note that these pants have a fold in the center right here, which goes to the outside. So we're gonna remember that. And then on the back, it has one real pocket, so like this is not just fake, it's an actual pocket, but just one. I don't really care for pockets in the back, I don't really use them. So I also don't care if they're on both sides or one side or whatever. One side is just less work. So let's leave it at one side. And it has the darts that go into the pocket right here. And it has side seam pockets like this, very like chinos, like the men's pants chinos. Just a straight pocket right here. Yep, that's it. Another thing that I wanted to do was a big facing for the hem, like 10 centimeters or something. So basically I want to like have more length in the leg and just fold it to the inside and then just top stitch it at around 10 centimeters, because I just think that that looks nice and it gives a bit more of a stiffer leg look. And so that's what I will be doing as well. Yeah, and other than that, these are just, you know, manufactured for leather. It's a specific thing, which we don't have to do. Yeah, so that's all. Let's get started. Okay, we're gonna start with my base block. This base block you can do yourself. I have a tutorial on it on my YouTube channel. You just click here to watch it, and then you can make your base block to your own size. This is to my size, or more or less to size S on my size chart. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll work with that base block. And I'm just gonna trace it. So what we're gonna do here for the dart is pretty simple. We have 2 centimeters that we normally would take out with the dart, but since we have a fold, we're just gonna put the 2 centimeters in the fold and, you know, form the pens that way. And very important is of course the placement of the fold, and we're just gonna measure that from the center front, so from right here down to here. That's at about 8.5 centimeters. Then we can measure the depth of the fold, which is 3.5. I'm going to write that down. And then we have a remaining width of 9.5 centimeters towards the side seam. Keep in mind, I made these pants smaller on the waist because they didn't fit me correctly. So these used to be a bit wider. Don't mind this, it's horrible, but that was the quickest way to change the size of the waist. So for changing the pants, like right here, we are first gonna measure from the center front 8.5 centimeters, and that's what I had hoped for, which is exactly the center front line. People make it easy for themselves. I was also trying to explain that in a reel that came out this week. Simple math, but in 15 seconds everything seems complicated. So I'm gonna explain it again for you here in a bit of a more depth version, I guess. So we have a fold of 3.5 centimeter depth. Now you have to just imagine how a fold works. You have basically this S-curve to a fold right here. So basically the depth of 3.5 centimeters is this right here. But because it's a fold, you not only go into the fold, but you also go back out. So basically your fold doesn't just need 3.5 centimeters, but double that, so 7 centimeters. So all of the additions that you need to put into your pants for a fold of 3.5 centimeters depth is 7 centimeters. So 3.5 times 2. Now, because pants are already shaped, or like base blocks are already shaped, you have some sort of dart in your waist already. In my case, it's 2 centimeters, but we took that out, like we crossed it out. So there is 2 centimeters too much at the moment in my waistline, which is fine because we're gonna add anyways to it for the fold. So to add on to this, we have to consider the 2 centimeters. So my fold is 7 centimeters that we would add onto it, and then we need to subtract the 2 centimeters of my dart from these 7 centimeters. So actually what you're doing is adding 5 centimeters to the side seam right here in order to get the 3.5 centimeters fold and no dart. So that's the simple math basically that we need to do, and we're just gonna add it onto our side seam right here. And then we have 2 options. We can either just draw a nice curve into the pants like this, and this is just gonna fold right here, or you can like put it into the center front a tiny bit if the addition is very large. You want to, you know, separate it to both sides. We're not going to do that though, because I quite like my center front right here. Looks good. I never had any complications with my base block in that sense. So we're just going to add onto our side seams. And since the pants are so wide-legged anyways, it should not matter. So what we're going to do, we're just going to draw a line approximately towards the curve that we drew onto here, because I already added the amount that is needed onto the leg. So we don't want to add too much again, or we don't want to add anything at all. Or what we might want to do is actually not add all of this to the inside of the leg, but split it to both sides, just for it to be like a bit more distributed, I guess. This fits really nicely onto my pants, but since we have the fold right there, we kind of want to angle it like a tiny bit outwards, which I think is going to end up looking nicer, because it's not just going to go towards the inside, and we don't want to add too much to the inside. So that's what we're going to do here. And now this new leg, we can just ease into the waistline, or like the side seam at the waistline, and it should look quite nicely. Something like that. And we make quite a mess again, so that's nothing new. Basically all my patterns look like this. So let's do red is the final. And then we want to add to the fold line right here, our fold of course. So I'm measuring 3.5 centimeters to the side seam twice. And this is the placement of our fold in the end. So once, just gonna quickly show you because then we can also finish the waistline itself. Once this is folded, this is gonna lay right here, and you can see that the waistline doesn't match up. So we're gonna have to fix that. And we're gonna do that just like this. So basically just an in-between of both lines. And also another trick, which people on my Insta that have been following my reels lately already know. So if you do this, you have the perfect angles for your fold already right here. So this should be the pattern. Of course we're gonna fit it. No pattern without fitting. But that looks good. Let's also add the pockets. So I measured from the leather pants a point at 16.5 centimeters right here. So we're also going to measure that, and it looks to be like 2 centimeters inwards or something for the pocket. So the pocket is going to end up sitting somewhere like here. Right here is our point for our zipper, and this should be the pattern for the front. So let's quickly do the back pattern as well. We are more or less copying stuff that we did for the front as well, just because they need to fit obviously. So that's one thing that we're gonna do, but also just want to check the fit for the back. But that's most of the times the hardest thing to do, because the back leg is always bigger than the front, and so it folds weirdly most of the time. So what I can see right here, it more or less it follows the same curve. This one is not as curvy as my pant leg right here, so I really like the fit of these. So we might want to make this a tiny bit less curvy. Another thing is the dart looks very, very small, or at least like not small, but like short, 7 centimeters. So only until here. Very tiny. That looks to me like there has been stuff taken off of the side seam, so the dart is smaller and it therefore can be shorter. So I'm just gonna measure how much the waist in the back actually measures, and then just, you know, transfer that onto my pants. We're just gonna make this dart smaller then, which I'm not a big fan of, by the way, because this could just be looking weird. So we might just have to ignore this small of a dart and, you know, make it larger or longer, basically. Another thing why this might be just shorter is because the waistband is actually in the pattern already. So they lowered the waistline in the base block of 4 centimeters and then made an additional pattern for the waist band, which looks, you know, somewhat possible because it is a curved waistband, it's not a straight one, so this looks to be part of the base block itself. And then the pocket here measures, ooh, it's not symmetric, 11 centimeters. We're gonna do it symmetrical. And then we're just gonna check the fit for the legs, which is fun. They're just not here as wide. We'll see if we have to maybe shorten this a tiny bit, but we'll work with my base block for now. And now the only thing left to do is measuring side seam and inner leg seam. And the easiest way to do that is just do this. So I'll be back with the finished mock-up and we're gonna fit it together. So that's what we're working with. Honestly, a very good start. I have a few things that I want to change still, so this is not the final thing. So first of all, let's start with the back. Do you see it? Yeah, you can see it. Especially like here. The weird fold here. That's what I already said. The dart is too short and therefore it makes like a weird corner here, a weird edge. So we have to fix that. And we fix that by putting pockets on both sides and just deal with that. And then just having, you know, the dart be longer and it's just gonna lead into the pocket a bit longer. And yeah, we're gonna fix it that way. Then I think generally that here in the front it's just a bit too much fabric in the front. So we might just want to take a tiny bit out in the inner leg seam right here. Other than that, this didn't do much. Like, I took out something here and it did not like do the back. Looks really nice in my opinion, apart from the darts. We're gonna fix that, easy thing. Length, really nice, really like it. I have some plateau shoes on right now, so if you're a tall person, this will fit you just perfectly. If you're a smaller person, you might want to shorten the pants a tiny bit. But for me, I'm 168 meters. So to compare, you know, this is how it fits me with 5 to 6 centimeters plateaus. If I just take the shoes off, you know, you see it right here. You can't see it because let's hope the camera doesn't fall. You can see it right there. I'm stepping on it. So you might want to shorten the pants. But I do not plan on wearing the pants with anything without, you know, plateau or heel. So that's perfect for me. And yeah, honestly, not too much to change. Pockets, of course, this just looks weird. We're gonna fix the dart situation. Also, by the way, this just looks awkward because the fabric. My actual fabric that I'm gonna use is this black fabric right here. Like, surprise, I'm gonna do something in black, actually. And this is much thinner, so this is not gonna do this awkward standing kind of thing that you see with my canvas. I think I have ghosts in my apartment. So I was listening to Frozen, so no surprise there, and I had it on in my studio, and now my Alexa in my kitchen and my living room just, Alexa stop, just started. I think I have ghosts. Okay, moving on, back to my studio, back to work. Okay, let's do the changes that I was talking about. I really got myself bad there on the pins and bleeding. Nothing new here either. Okay, let's start with the front piece because I wanted to change a bit more here. I think I'm just gonna take out in the inner leg seam like a curve. So in between the knee and the crotch line right here, like this. So I think I'm just gonna go straight up from the leg and just see where it meets basically, and like do this kind of curve. Okay, front, apart from like the small bits and pieces, done. So what I'm gonna do, because I was thinking about it, if I elongate the dart, I can only elongate it to the end of my pocket right here. 2 centimeters, not that much for a dart that makes a really weird edge, and you can already see here that the dart like should go 5 or 6 centimeters more down. So I am actually gonna do another thing, which is I am making the dart smaller to be 2 centimeters instead of 3, elongated to the end of the pocket, and then the 1 centimeter I am just gonna take out on the side seam and also in the center back. And this shouldn't do too much to the fit in these areas, it's just gonna shrink the waist to fit the dart situation. Not much to do here either. So I am not gonna do the specific pattern pieces on paper here. I'm gonna digitize this pattern and do all of the things on my computer. Starting off with the back pockets, and as they're going to be real pockets this time, I'm ironing the pockets at the indicated fold line. By the way, you're going to find an interfacing guide for all the pattern pieces in the sewing instructions, which I'll definitely suggest to check out, as interfacing is one of the things that just make your garments look way more professional. Once done with that, I prepare my pocket piping by ironing it in half. To start sewing the pockets, I need to close the darts, which I'm doing after closing the center back and overlocking that seam as well. I also iron the seam allowance to either side. Pipe pockets like that always kind of work the same way, which is why I'd like to refer you to a video I already made a couple of months ago, in which I find I explained pipe pockets in quite a lot of detail, honestly. To not make this video any longer than it already is, I decided to cut this part, as the black of the fabric doesn't really do the pipe pocket any justice anyways, and it's pretty hard to tell what I am doing. So please refer to the eye right now, and I put timestamps on the screen right now in which you can actually watch how to make pipe pockets from beginning to end and go along with that. In that video I am doing fake pockets, but so many of you commented on how I dare to do fake ones, which is why I'm now of course showing you real back pockets. It's not too much of a difference, just instead of the backing I used in the other video, I am now putting right sides of the still open edge on top together with the longer side of the back pocket, and sew carefully at 1 centimeter from corner to corner. I give everything a quick iron, which also shows if you worked nicely or not. You can see a little bit of a gap on top, so I didn't do the best of jobs for the pipe pockets, but it's fine. You want to now grab the other side and also put right sides together with the lower seam allowance of the piping of the pocket. This one doesn't really, you don't have to be exact while sewing, as this is on the inside and it's not going to show. So you just want to fix it basically, and then you can already go ahead and overlock the sides together to close the pockets. And I added this kind of back tacking in a diagonal manner so that you don't have corners where dust can be trapped in. And that's how the pockets look like. The front pockets also work like the good old jean pocket, but with the difference of them just being a straight pattern instead of a curved one. So you want to start with the pocket facing and overlock the sides that won't be sewn into the side seam and stay visible. And then you can go ahead and just top stitch them onto the corresponding pockets themselves. Just like that, they should fit on them perfectly. Now take the upper pocket, that's the smaller one of the two, and put it right sides together with the pocket opening of your front pant leg. Sew them both together and backstitch the pocket seam as well. Give the seam a good press and lay down your lower pocket right on top. You should find all notches aligned with the respective spots on the pant leg. Pin the pockets together and sew the pocket close. I also overlocked the pockets. And that's what the pockets finally look like. I'm super happy with them. So now we can go ahead and make the folds in the front. You should find notches that just tell you where to fold it. I give it a good press as well, and then I just pin down the fold as preparation for further sewing, but I'll just leave it like that for now. We can continue now with the front opening. So you're going to find two pieces that are called flies. The rectangular one you want to iron in half and then overlock the open edges, not the folded one. And also the fly stitch piece, you want to overlock the round edge. Put the fly stitch piece right sides together with the center front of the left pant leg, left one while being worn, so it's the right one on screen, and sew until the fly notch in the center front of the pant leg. Also backstitch the piece. Once done with that, you want to iron the fly stitch piece onto the wrong side of the pant. And what I like to do is actually cut at the fly notch right towards the stitching line so that the seam allowance kind of pops out while ironing, and it's just easier for a few steps afterwards. Next up, you want to grab your zipper and open it, and then put the zipper right sides together with the center front of the right leg piece, so the one on the left side of the screen. For sewing, it's easiest to just use a one-sided foot. You also only want to sew until the fly notch, and then you can grab your rectangular fly piece and also top stitch it onto the zipper front piece combo. I also like to just top stitch the center front right next to the zipper because it just lays nice and it just looks more professional, I guess. Once done with that, the hardest part, I guess, is already over. Now you just want to close your zipper and then put the center front right on top of each other. So you want to basically cover the stitching line of the right pant leg with the fold line of your left pant leg. This should match up at the fly notch perfectly if you did it correctly. You can now peel away the side so that the fly stitch gets visible, and then you can fold away the rectangular fly piece in order to pin together the still open zipper side with the fly stitch piece, because you want to just stitch it right on top where it falls. It's important to just pin the zipper to exactly where it falls after you pinned the center front together, because that's going to make the pants look nice in the end. Once done with that, you can just sew the lower part of the center front together, overlock that seam as well, and your front is almost done. The last thing that you want to do is top stitch the fly stitch roundness, I guess, onto the left side of your pants. You can just copy the shape onto the front with a chalk or a washable marker or something like that. Before you sew though, you have to peel away the rectangular fly piece again, because if you top stitch that onto this whole thing, you're just gonna close the opening and you can't put your pants on. So make sure to just fold it away and then top stitch the fly stitch piece. And then once you're done with that, you want to add some bar tacks. For the bar tacks, you want to fold back the rectangular piece so that you stitch through all the layers in your front opening, because that's just going to give it a bit more strength. You want to add 3 different ones, one at the roundness, a little bit higher, like 3 times 3 centimeters towards the right. Then you also want to add a vertical and a horizontal one right at the opening, because that's basically the point where it's prone to ripping, because that's where the most, pressure is. And you just help the pants by adding these bar tacks, and yeah, it's just going to give it a lot more strength in that area. Just give the pants a good iron as well, and your front opening is completely done. Actually, your front pant legs are done, so that's really nice. We can continue now with putting the back and the front together. And you do that, of course, by putting right sides of back and front legs together. You then just want to close the side seam, nothing special here. I just sew it straight down towards the hem and then also overlock everything in one go, so that that's already out of the way. And once done with that, I give everything a good press actually before continuing with sewing the inner leg seam together, because it's just easier. So you want to iron the seam allowances towards the back piece. That's more or less the only direction it goes, because the pockets also fall that way, the seam allowance that is. And before continuing on with the inner leg seam, I want to prepare my hem facings. Because I have this 10 centimeter hem facing, I want to iron it upwards already at the notches, like the indicated points, so that once I sew the inner leg seams together, I don't have any hard time with ironing or, you know, like doing anything with a closed leg already, because that's just making your work harder. So go ahead and prepare that before closing the inner leg seam. I also overlock my inner leg seam right after sewing. You also want to iron your leg seam, of course. The inner leg seam, like the other leg seams as well, get ironed towards the back piece. Since the hem is already prepared, I just need to fold it back up and just fix it with a few pins before top stitching it like finally to the upper side, and that just makes a really nice hem in the end, because it also weighs down the pant leg themselves, so you basically always have like a really nice straight thick hem, if that makes sense. I just like the look, so that's what I went with, and I'm really happy with how it came out. The last thing is the waistband. As per usual, iron the waistband in half and prepare one side by ironing the seam allowance up. Fold the short ends right sides together and sew one side close, and on the other side this kind of triangular shape with the indicated notches. This is basically going to be the button overlap, and you want to, you know, have like this small rectangle that just overlaps to the other side where the button is going to be. Don't stitch into the area where you ironed your seam allowance up. It's just gonna make it easier for sewing later, so just leave that empty. Don't stitch into the seam allowance. Then you want to cut down your seam allowance to about 5 millimeters, and for the button piece you also want to cut into your seam allowance towards the end of the stitching line right at the notch, and pop out that seam allowance after you've folded everything right sides out. It's just gonna make it look very neat, and you can go ahead and work better with that preparation done. My apologies also for having to mirror my video, but I by mistake just ironed up the wrong side and therefore had to redo it. So for you not to get confused, I just mirrored the video, and you can orientate yourself at which side needs to lay where in order to get, you know, the right waistband ironing and stuff like that. So that's just a disclaimer. You can go ahead now and just pin your waistband onto your pants, but before sewing you want to prepare your belt loops, if you want to have belt loops, of course. The belt loops is actually a pattern piece that you do not need to add any seam allowance to, so it comes just as is. Just cut it out, overlock the longer sides of the belt loop, and then iron the belt loops 1 centimeter on both sides towards the inside in order to top stitch it. I just like to top stitch it pretty closely to the edge on either side, and once you're done with that, you want to cut 5 pieces that measure 8 centimeters off of this piece. You should end up with, I think, 6, so you can just, you know, toss away one that doesn't look that neat, and the ones that actually made it to be part of the pants, you just want to pin right sides together with your pants, so like right sides on your pants, wrong side on your waistband, at the respective spots that are indicated in the pattern, so right on top of the fold, 4 centimeters I think, towards the back piece, and then 1 right in the center back. So these are the 5 spots, and now once you pin everything down, you can go ahead and actually sew the waistband onto the pants. And because the waistband is already perfectly prepared, you just need to fold the waistband up and over and pin it down. You want to cover the stitches that you just did slightly with the folded side and pin it down all around. I just added my label in the center back to be able to sew. As I didn't want any visible stitches in the end, I decided to stitch in the ditch with the right side of the pants up and the inner side, the side I just pinned, laying down on my sewing machine. To get the best result possible, I make sure to spread the waistband and the pants basically apart with my fingers while trying to sew in the ditch as much as possible. Then I added 2 bar tags per belt loop, one at around 5 centimeters lower than the waistband, and another one on top, fixing the belt loop like folded inwards onto the waistband. And of course, the last step is to add some sort of closure. I opted for this kind of hook closure just because it doesn't have anything visible on the outside, which I like a lot. So I just sewed these two pieces in place, and then also I added a push button on the inner side, so like on the fly piece, just to have like an extra amount of security there. And it's also tucked away, not visible, so really, really nice. I suggest you do the same. Usually pants like this always have two sorts of closures, either a buttonhole and a button and a hook like that, or you know, two buttons, whatever, something like that. And it works very well. The only thing that I want to add is because my fabric had like a small bit of elasticity, I think like 3% of elastan, it ended up being a bit stretchy, and therefore it didn't not add up perfectly when it was closed because it had a bit of pressure, and it just, you know, that didn't work out quite well. So if you can, just use something that doesn't have elasticity in it and you should be perfectly fine. And that's it already for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it was a long video, but I hope that, you know, you learned something, because especially pants can be a bit intimidating because of the multiple things that you need to add or that you can add. But if you break them down step by step, you actually find that they're not too complicated if you understand how they are made. So I hope I was able to explain that to you so that you can make yourself some pants without a tutorial, maybe, I don't know, because that's, you know, that's the hope I have with all of my videos, that you learn and you can do something without tutorials. That would be amazing. Anyways, of course the pattern is available on my Etsy shop. The link will be down in the description below, and then also as usual in the pinned comment. Also find timestamps in the description below, so if you need to, you know, skip ahead and, you know, find specific chapters for specific topics, you can do so using the timestamps. I would be super happy if you could support me over on my socials. I am posting loads of behind the scenes and my life and everything regarding that, especially on my Insta stories. And also, I've been mentioning throughout this video a few reels. That's the thing that I'm doing on Insta at the moment. So like, I give you small tutorials, short tutorials, and tricks and tips and stuff on sewing related topics. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and check that out. Links are in the description as well. And as per usual, I'm going to show you the pants worn, of course. I hope you like them. I absolutely love the pattern. I think I will do something not in black, but using that pattern again, because I just really, really like the fit of these pants. They look absolutely gorgeous, I think. So I hope you like them too. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you next Sunday. Bye guys!